Hello and welcome to Journeys and Journals. We're traveling again. This time we're traveling all the way to Merlin. Merlin's a little town in southern Oregon, has long history, but it's making history again. I'd like you to meet my guest, Charlene. Welcome. What is this all about?
Well, this is about a special cancellation that we're having on May 5th. It's a postmark of the Wild and Scenic Rogue River.
Now, a postmark, your job is what?
I am the postmaster of Merlin.
And?
That is a special postmark that we will have for an event that we're having for Community Park there in Merlin.
And who's the sidekick next to you and what's her responsibility? Welcome back, Marilyn.
Thank you. My responsibility is to pre-sell postcards. This will be a postcard that we're going to make. This is somewhat of an example of how the postcard will look. And we will have other on the back of it. That's just so.
And on the back will be a place for you to write to whom. And
yes.
From whom. And,
exactly.
And then the message that says, come to Southern Oregon and look at, what's this?
That's the Rogue River.
Of course, of course. The Wild and Scenic Rogue River is just, Merlin's the last post stop. Oh, the gateway.
Yes,
gateway.
To the Wild and Scenic Rogue.
Yes.
What's the symbolism here?
Well,
Snow-capped mountain?
We tried to get everything when we designed it. Lisa at Logan Design and I got together and took the old sign and incorporated it and made it into that. And of course the sun setting, which we have gorgeous sunsets. And if you take the jet boat ride in the evening, you're on the river with the moonlight shining on the river. We have the mountains with the snow. You can see a little snow on the top.
I do.
And our wonderful forest.
Well, Merlin's known for the wooded, lumbered.
Well, we have BLM and forest land out there.
Right, and we're on BLM land, our backyard is.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, they've come in and been good neighbors and cleared all the underbrush. We were concerned, when you're living right next to the Wild and Scenic, that this is beautiful. Now, where will I get one of these?
Well, I'm going to talk to all the businesses in Merlin, of course, and have them order, and it will be like any postcard. I inquired around, and there is nothing, not a postcard one, that says Merlin, Oregon. So it will be a first.
Hey, very first. Now, my husband has a shirt that said University of Merlin, property of the gym, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's had more fun because people say Merlin.
Yes.
I didn't know they had a university.
Yeah.
but we do have the gateway.
Yes.
Oh.
This is a postmark, what the postmark will actually look like when people come to get it, actually what we call canceled. So you put the stamp on the back, and this is what the post office has designed. We've actually sent this up, and we've had all the requirements. We have to basically get it approved through the Postal Service for the format, and we have to have a camera-ready artwork, which Marilyn had. And then we have to have the size, the wording, a zip code, the post office name, the date will be on there. And so we take her artwork and then we worked it in, and this is basically like a little rubber stamp, and we'll cancel your stamp on the back of each postcard.
Now, what stamp on a postcard, there is a stamp that looks like this.
That's true.
Yep.
And so if you put this stamp on, it looks a little bit like they belong together.
It does kind of work out.
Yeah.
And that was all part of the plan. What's this guy called?
That's the common butterfly. That is the post office's next ounce So anytime you take, you mail a letter and the next ounce is up, then you put a 24-cent common butterfly on it. Or if you have just a postcard, then you use that stamp.
Absolutely, like that. In fact, in my purse there are usually a few butterflies around, because you never know when somebody's you're gonna need to. Thank you for bringing the butterfly. It is a bear, isn't it?
It's a little bee, I think.
Oh,
or
of
I
course.
think it might be a butterfly.
No,
Well, no,
it's a bee with the butterfly wings.
Yeah.
See the little bee things up there?
It's a post office
toy.
Yeah.
A toy.
That's
You
what
can
we
get
sell
that
there. You can buy those at the post office.
Well, now, you have brought so many things here, but Marilyn, let's turn to you. Why is Merlin so important to you?
You know, I came here approximately 33 years ago, and I think it was about my third visit, and I just stayed. I fell in love with Merlin. Then in '83 got involved with constructing the Merlin Community Park. That's when my husband Al was with us. And so got some good people together and made a huge difference in Merlin. The Merlin Community Park did.
Well, Merlin's history is logging.
Right.
Logging, lumber, and logs.
Right.
And that they still have that tower there. What? Burn?
Oh, yeah,
Wigwam burner.
Wigwam. They have offered that. Rendata has offered that to me or to the Josephine County Historical Society. I don't know if you've ever been in there, but it is huge.
Right. It reminds me a little bit of the blimp hangar in Getworth.
Yeah.
And it was there to incinerate.
Right.
And back in the olden days, there were wigwam burners all over Southern Oregon, and I didn't grow up knowing there were hills around. There was so much smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go out on a clear day, I'm going, wow.
Well, I would like to save that because they're tearing those down very quickly, and there's not a whole lot of them left. So I haven't stepped forward and said yes or no, but ask them to put a hold on it because they're now doing better with their business. They're shipping lumber again from Rendata, and they have a plywood plant there.
Well, they bring lumber in from Brookings?
From all over.
On trucks, and the trucks then load on the train. Yeah, Merlin's always been a train town, hasn't it?
Right, we have two of those.
Loading docks, or?
No, not loading docks. They're where you can go off and it doesn't.
Oh, sidings.
Thank you. Sidings.
I think that's the word.
We have another one down where the old lumber building used to be. Down in that area, there's one there that's not used.
Well, now let's talk a little bit about why this book. Claudette Morning Pruitt grew up down there.
And wrote that's a marvelous book. It's just chock full of information about the whole area, the history of Merlin, the history of Galice, Hugo, all those areas.
The ferry.
Yeah.
To get across the road, that's all you could do was ferry across.
And of course, the historic Haynes apple tree, which is well over 150 years old and still going. I still take care of it.
There's a tiny little park, right, just around the apple tree.
Yeah,
and
it's a designation that historically accepted site, and so it can't be touched.
Well, now the post office itself, I'd hoped. The old post office, how many post offices in Merlin?
How many post office boxes?
No, how many, this new one that looks like the U.S. government came in and said we're going to build style 3 or whatever, style 1816 or whatever, isn't the first post office or the second. How many post offices have Merlin had?
I think this is the third one.
Third one, yeah. The little yellow house on Pleasant Valley Road and at the railroad tracks. And that's, you know, the first train station that we had, Grants Pass gave us, and moved it out to Merlin. And then when Merlin burned, that went. So the bricks to that is still under there, and it's by the post office, the first old post office.
Oh my goodness.
There's bricks under there. We don't know how far under. Then down the street back on Merlin Avenue, you know, there's a Y there, and Merlin Lease Road goes this way. Merlin Avenue goes to Pleasant Valley Road. There is a brick building, which now houses a few little different kinds of stores.
And that was post office when we moved
Number
here.
Number two.
And that you'd go down and,
right.
you know, and now it's a real main street of town thing, right next to the old school building.
Right, and we're very proud of this post office. So is Colonial Valley. They quit going to Grants Pass. They started using Merlin. Closer, easier access.
And because we're so proud of Merlin history, I mean,
Yes.
neither of us have Merlin addresses, right?
Well, that's the federal government.
Okay.
The cities themselves don't designate that. The federal government decides what zip code you're going to have. You could live on one side of the street and have a Merlin zip code, and somebody could live on the other side of the street and they would have a Grants Pass zip code. So that has to do with the federal government, and I'm afraid they're a lot smarter than me. So I'm not going to try to explain that at all.
I know, that's pretty hard.
Now, your zip code is Merlin, or your zip code is?
Personally, let's see, I lived in Rogue River for 25 years.
Oh.
And so, and that's, to me, you guys may have lived in Merlin for a long time, but when I lived in Rogue River, Merlin was known to me as water, rafting. So when I first saw her sign, I really thought that was such a perfect picture for people that come in from other areas. It's exactly what you feel when you're there. So
Right.
I think you feel the earth, you feel everything in Merlin, how beautiful it is. And that sign really does do something for, I think, the visitors there.
Right, and in Rogue River, you have history of that community.
You know, is it funny? Because I built a soccer field there. My kids grew up there. They graduated from there. And then, as soon as I got this job, I moved to Shady Cove.
Oh. Well, Shady.
So I'm working on my husband to build me a house on Paradise Ranch. I don't know when that's going to happen, but yeah.
Shady Cove is a bit farther, but we
Yeah.
welcome you. We did just have a TV show of the history of the Applegates who live out Shady Cove. Her name's no longer Applegate, but I think if it's an Applegate in your family, you're going to keep it in as a middle name. Or
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a fascinating family they are. Josephine County history. I've
Yes.
seen this at the Historic Society.
Right.
A book well worth being on everyone's coffee table.
Absolutely, and it should be in every doctor and dentist office, but every time I talk to them, they say, I'll take one for me, but they'd steal it. It's so nice. What happened was the courier came to our board and wanted to use some of our photography, and as president, that was in around 96, I said yes. And so they did that. They published this book, and we had a book signing, and when they were finished with what they wanted to do with it, they then gave us the publishing rights.
Oh, okay.
The courier has been very good to us, and so we can now publish this, and we have a machine that does that, except for the book binding.
Hardcover.
Hardcover. And we sell both of those books at the Josephine County Research Library, Historical Research Library.
Yeah, I guess we left that part out. We means
Yeah, we.
That you have been the president of the Historic Society, and now I see you have
yes,
elect.
Well, I'm president-elect. I'll be president in '08, and I'm also a trust director. Whatever hat that nobody else can take, it usually ends up on my head.
And one of the reasons that we're team is that every historic video that I have done in 20-some years, 20-plus years, about this county will be archived there.
Right, we have several.
And we're hoping to have the place for you to view it. And I'm offering that to any other county also, because if I've done something about Douglas County, it really belongs in your archives. There's nothing like in their own words.
Absolutely. I just love the videos that you did with Deb's Pots. They are invaluable.
And the treasure that the state wanted them all, because no one else. I mean, I had 5 interviews.
Right. And they played those parts of those at the memorial that we went to.
The one here, the one in Salem, the one, I just opened your book here, and this is a building that my father bought after Prohibition had shut it down as a brewery. And he used it for a warehouse. So as a child, I always called it the Bear House. And we had in the back a little attic kind of space. You know, you kid, when you outgrew something, you stopped playing with the trike. Well, you just moved it over to the warehouse. That's part of our history, and this was a park here. Now, her garden. Mrs. Kimlin had her garden here, and she had a parrot, and I remember the fig tree here. Wonderful bit of history. Back to you and Merlin, if you just grab something here and share a little bit about, well, general information. What general information would you like to tell us?
Well, I'd like to really for everyone to be able to come out on May 5th. We will have a tent at the park, and I'll have it staffed with clerks, and probably myself, I'll be out there, and we will be selling the postcards and doing your cancellations. So I hope that we'll have a good turnout, and that will be on Saturday. So on Friday, we will have that cancellation also available to anyone at the post office, and we'll be doing cancellations on Friday also.
I can just see a queue all the way out to the post office, and me in that line.
And that will be, of course, the magical Merlin Parade Day.
Oh, now what I should do then, what will the price be for your postcard? And
we're not quite sure about that yet. We have to find somebody that's a merchandiser that can tell us what's a reasonable price and how we can make a little profit for the park.
Well, so the Merlin Park has been such an asset to the community.
Quite proud of it. I'm quite proud of it.
And rightly so. You've rolled up your sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
We've had people donate. I've talked to people who were there early on, and now we even have a sheriff's substation, a meeting room, and
with a kitchen that's for rent,
and swings, and
and we have a brand new playground, state-of-the-art equipment that we got through a grant. This park was built without tax money.
Thank you for telling that.
Yes. This was built by the community. It is a taxing district. And when we started building it, the 5 people that were involved said, as long as we can get a grant anywhere, we will not tax.
Well,
and
I understand some people rolled up their sleeves and actually went to work there.
Lots of people.
Now,
lots.
How does the park relate to the post office?
Well, I think, and talking with the community, when I first got there, a lot of people had told me that there's a lot of problems there, and that there's a lot of people always hanging around, and there were a lot of drugs. And my landscaper was constantly telling me that my sprinkler system was being tore up by vandalism and this and that. And I would say, I'm waiting. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but nothing. I am so amazed because I heard such, you know, some derogatory things about it. I'm thinking this has got to be, because you got to remember, I worked in Medford. So I'm coming back home. I'm coming back to Rogue River area. I'm coming back here. And I'm thinking, this is a beautiful community. This community is a place to raise your children. So you get the park. We let the kids stay in our post office in the morning to catch the bus.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
You mean instead of getting cold and wet?
Yeah, yeah. We make them behave, you know, and they behave. I mean, there have been moments that they get kind of crazy out there, but they're children.
Yeah, they get crazy out in the bus shed.
They feel welcome there. And one of the things I do is like put up a community board so people feel comfortable coming in and talking about some of the things that are going on and some of the things that are happening in the community. And so we're really going to tie in.
Isn't there some place I can post my notice about whatever? I mean, there seems to be a billboard.
Yep, there's a billboard there now. Mm-hmm.
And we even got to keep our same post office box number when it moved from the...
They did. What I understand, they really worked hard at trying to keep everyone the same number. It was difficult because they had to do a numerical order. But yeah, I've heard a lot of that about a lot of people.
Well, we've bragged a little bit about Merlin Galice, and if you imagine the mail would go down the Rogue by mule, right? Mm-hmm. That's how they delivered it. Or it would come from Gold Beach in the mailboat.
A mailboat, when the stagecoach, when that didn't last very long, but they did deliver mail through stagecoach.
Well, I've heard such funny stories about mail delivery because they would ship groceries by mail. You know, you'd let them know that you needed flour, sugar, and whatever.
And then bring it over to you.
And then they'd box it up and bring it up on the mailboat from Gold Beach up to the mines. I don't know just how far up they'd come, but here in Grants Pass, they'd also take things down the river that they couldn't go by mule.
Right. It was, yeah, they didn't have the road all the way through. I personally love history, but I'm certainly glad I live in this age.
You know a little bit about the camp where the CCC camp was in downriver at Rand?
I don't know much about that. I really don't. I've read about it, but you know, we're just filled with history. Josephine County is, and when you deal with so much of it, it's just something that you don't really retain about a lot of it.
Well, fortunately, they've kept the building at Rand, and they have a Glenwell Ridge boat out there. You can go and see it and do it. And learn a little bit about CCC camps because they helped our nation get out of a depression. Yes. Young men went to work in a different area, and then the government would send most of the money back to the family in the Dust Bowl, and he'd get to keep $5 himself. They fed him, but they worked diligently. And they had a program for women too, and they taught them the domestic arts. And this was part of pulling us out of that 30s dark period.
I came from Oklahoma, so I was born there, and in the mid-30s, and so I heard a lot about, and we were just coming out of that when the war started, you know, and of course that brought the economics up some. But you're absolutely right. A lot of people would have starved to death if they hadn't gotten the money from the people that were working out here.
Well, I'm kind of anxious to get all those stories nailed down on tape. You have one more thing in the last 2 minutes about why it's so important. What about stamp collecting? I mean, that was my dad's favorite hobby.
I think that the way that this is set up through the philatelic, the stamp mark, this is very known. This will be published through all kinds of magazines all through the country. People will be sending me undercover letters for them to postmark with this cancellation.
Okay, when you are saying undercover, you mean somebody back in Minnesota will put in a separate envelope addressed to themselves, and they'll pay postage to get it out here, and they'll send you money?
Yeah, no, they don't send me any money. They just send me the stamp, what they want me to cancel, put this postmark on. Okay. So, and they are collectors throughout the whole country. So the
first day covers, only this isn't the stamp that's the first day, it's the postmark.
That's right.
So we can put butterflies on all those postcards and have them come back. It's kind of a fun gift. I have many first day covers that my dad had collected.
There you go.
And it's really quite a privilege.
This will be all over the country, and so this is quite something to be said that not too many of them are around.
Well, I want to thank the two of you, and I understand that we can get custom stamps.
Yes.
So I can get my 50th anniversary.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we don't do them at our post office. You actually have to go online, and then you go into their format and send them in a picture. There is a cost for it. You have to, I think, USPS.com, and you go in that website and you follow that little path, and it'll tell you what you do, and you got a little. We see quite a few now.
I just got a wedding invitation with the bride and
Isn't
groom
that
on
awesome?
the stamp, and that came. I'm so excited about it. So thank you very much for all these extras. Well, you've learned about books, you've learned about Merlin, you've learned about two very, very busy women out here, and I want to thank you so much for having the foresight to put Merlin, our little town, on a map. I'm Bernie Martin Beck saying thank you so much, and come out and visit us.